I want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to get this interview in. I'm very excited to get to know you. And so why don't you just start, tell me where you're from, where you grew up, what you're studying here.
Yes, the don't intro. Let's see. Right.
Yes.
So my name is Boston Reid. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, so not too far away. I'm a senior theater major here at Doane, music minor. I'm graduating at semester, so December of 2022.
Okay.
So everything's starting to boil down to this, you're about to leave and all that sort of stuff. But it's been an amazing time here, and I love Doane University, so it's been a great time. So,
what other things? So I know you said you. I think APO was another thing that's
Yes.
come up. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So I am the president currently of Alpha Psi Omega, which is the honorary theater society here on campus. So basically, over the course of your time here as a theater major or just a theater practitioner here at Doane, you accumulate points through all these sort of activities you do, whether it be on the tech side of things or an actor. And once you make 100 points from our point system, you are inducted into this honorary society. And the big thing about this society is every year in December, after finals and all that sort of, after the stressful load of our semesters ended, we get to go to Chicago and experience live theater. And Chicago is one of the most incredible places for that. People think of New York and they think, oh, that must be the top. No,
yeah,
Chicago.
Like Broadway.
No, it's not just that. The West End and Chicago have such innovative and revolutionary theater that as a troupe and as an honorary society, we go and we talk with alumni in Chicago, catch up with them, we take backstage tours, and but most importantly, we get to see what the cutting edge theater is like right now, so we can adapt with our own theater. So we're constantly evolving as a theater society, and APO is a huge part of that. And we also do outreach. In the past and in the future, we hope to help Creed High School, do workshops with them, make that partnership. Basically, get the word out about Doane Theater and how awesome we are, because I think we're awesome, and that's a great little thing about our fine arts community here. So
yeah, and that's awesome. I was just in Chicago also, and I went on the architecture tour, and we passed the Opera House. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
And just from the river looking at it, I was like, this is amazing. I remember you speaking on APO going to Chicago, and that would just be a fantastic experience.
Gosh, I've never been. In my 4 years here, I was, COVID freshman. So I came here freshman year, and then second semester, COVID hit. So I never got to go to Chicago. So this would be a first-time experience for all of these students who are in APO right now, and there's currently 13 of us. So it's very exciting, very exciting.
So why don't you kind of just give me a little bit, so as you've grown up, as you've gone through high school, obviously you're graduating at semester, which is amazing, but how would you say that your upbringing has influenced your leadership journey?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to have two parents who were very supportive of me at an early age. They knew I was an interesting one, I wasn't really much into sports or anything like that, but in middle school, I got myself involved with the theater. So my first play was James and the Giant Peach, and I remember my first line, which was, down they go, hail and snow, freezes and seasons and noses will blow, and I threw like snowballs. It was pathetic. I played a clown. But that's sort of, I had the theater bug hit me, and the greatest thing to have is a set of parents who are, yes, you should do this, and Boston, if this is what your heart is set on, then follow through with that. But also my upbringing, they were very much insistent on me being a kind human, a caring individual, and to make sure that it was never about me. To make sure it was never about me. Yes, you need to focus on yourself and make sure that you are in a good place to help others, but there's such a special nature in helping other people. And so ever since then, and ever since my upbringing, I have always found ways to, in what I can do, in what I'm passionate about, how can I help other people? Which I think has led into my role as a leader here on campus. It has always been less about me. So for this Chicago trip, in instance, and this is not trying to flout or anything,
Yeah.
I can't go on the Chicago trip because I have other obligations in Omaha. I'm becoming an adult, basically.
Yeah.
But my main goal was to make sure that everyone else had that experience, to help them get there. So I'm making sure everything is set up for them and all that sort of stuff. But that also comes through in what we do as theater people. I mean, it's very much a collaborative art form. And we're storytellers. I mean, a huge part of what we do is how we communicate what we're trying to perform to an audience and what they can get from that, whether it makes them cry or laugh or just be entertained or think. I mean, that's the ultimate aspect, is to think. And I've taken all of that into what I do as a leader. So it's less about me and more about other people. At least I hope that's what it comes off.
And kind of just hearing you talk about like this APO trip, that like you want all these individuals in theater and the different places that they come from enjoy this and get to experience that, even if you're not going on it. It's just very inspiring to me, because I can tell how much you care, and your character really does speak to that. When it comes to putting on a show, what kind of leadership do you see in that sense? Like, whether it be going over lines, doing your first run through. So how do you see like your style, or even those around you, kind of making sure that those run smoothly?
That's actually an aspect we talked about. I just had my senior project final committee meeting. One of the main aspects that I always try to lead through is I always try to show a strong work ethic. You know, it is, especially when there's freshmen in the room, because freshmen have no clue. I mean, they're still, you know, blindsided by high school and gossip. So when they come to college, it's a real culture shock of some sorts. But the best thing you can do is show them, you know, the ropes around what it takes to be, you know, have a strong work ethic in the theater. For example, I always try to come in and have my lines memorized when, you know, the off-book date is. I always mark in my scripts, you know, and talk about subtext. It's sort of like studying Shakespeare or analyzing Shakespeare, how much you write about it. But how every time you're in that rehearsal room, you're just in it. You're in it, you're off your phone, and you're experiencing other people while also interacting with them. The best thing you can do in a theater environment is make sure everybody feels comfortable. You know, you can't lead with fear. You know, you have to lead with love and compassion, and you have to make everybody feel as though they are able to do their best work, because they can fail. They can fail, and that's a beautiful thing. You know, it's a beautiful thing to fail, because if you're in an environment where that is allowed, where you can grow and develop, I mean, that is, you can shoot to the stars with that. So I always try to inhabit that, whether I am music directing a show, whether I'm an actor and trying to work with another person. Like, hey, this doesn't have to be perfect, but we can work together to make this the best it can be. And as long as you're comfortable, that's where the best work comes from. And I try to exhibit that as a leader in whatever I do. So.
Yeah. What do you think is kind of the most challenging aspect? I know you're talking about like people like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to fail. I don't think anybody wants to fail at anything that they're doing. So I feel like that's something like freshmen come in and they're kind of like, well, I feel like I'm going to fail at anything. I think that would probably be challenging, but what do you see from your eyes, especially going through these 4 years here, as like a challenging part? Just within theater, within leadership, like
I think one of the most challenging aspects is it's such an outward art form that everybody has opinions about. It is so easy to get stuck in your mind about how other people might perceive your work. But the best thing you can do is just be in the moment and be, for example, in a scene. I mean, if you have a scene partner, locking eyes with them and just being connected with them, the world is full of opinions and thoughts and, oh, you should run this like this. Oh, you should do this like this. Oh, this is the best opinion. This is the way the world should be run. The only thing you can do to combat that is, as I just talked about, is to lead with compassion and to believe in the people you are in the room with. And know that when tensions because tensions do come. I mean, it's such a close art form that any bond you make is, of course, going to have those tensions, especially in like Tech Week, where you're trying to get the show up. I mean, Tech Week is such a hard week, but the best thing you can do is just to remember that as a collective, you have a central mind, which is to get this show up and to tell the best story you can out of that script. So it's all about coming together, even in the most stressful of times, you know, because tensions do arise. And I think in every aspect, and every leader can say this, there's a moment of there's a moment where like, gosh, I'm failing them. I'm failing them, and everybody seems to be on edge. But the best thing you can do is just to remind everybody, hey, we all have the same passions. We're all in this together, basically, and that's the most important thing you can give. So.
Yeah, and that kind of perfectly leads into like my next question. So you get through Tech Week, you get through that show. That might be the most rewarding part, but in your opinion, what is the most rewarding part of being a part of this whole experience?
It's the relationships. It's really the relationships, those close bonds, and you really learn to become each other's siblings and this sort of stuff. And it's amazing that yes, people can feel rewarded by the feeling of applause and all of that, but I think it's the human nature. It's what makes us human. It's the art form of coming together and sharing our experiences and letting those experiences bleed into the work we're creating, and having other people see that, and having other people be in the rehearsal room trying to mold those things. I mean, it's a very human art form, and it allows us to be vulnerable in a sort of way, that vulnerability is what gives us the chance to grow and develop. I mean, you never stop learning. And especially in the theater, because you're always growing, you're being forced to go into other people's shoes.
What would you say are, so I know you talked about like compassion and those other things that you bring into and kind of that hard work ethic, but some more of those like leadership values that you think to yourself are very important, not even to just demonstrate, just for you personally, that you find in others.
Yeah, I mean, when I look back on the most influential people in my life, it tends to be the people who give you the space. And I talked about this earlier, the space to fail, because then that's where the true learning takes place. I think leadership is all about learning and adapting. It's problem solving. It is essentially problem solving. And in order to problem solve, you need to have problems to solve, You need to grow and develop from the mistakes you make. I think the best leaders I've ever had are the people who acknowledge and express that when they were younger and first getting into their leadership positions, whether that be a director, a music director, or a choir director, or anything like that, they also failed, but they're open to that. I also think as a leader, it's important to know when to say I don't know. I think I don't know is a crucial thing. It's freeing almost. It's freeing as a leader. Of course, you want to know as much as you can so you can give the best experience for the people who are underneath you, and so they feel like there's a place of foundation that they can bounce their ideas off of. But when you don't know the answer, saying I don't know means that you are in it with them. You can't. I believe that a leader can't lead only above his or her people, the people who are in that society. You have to lead. You have to make decisions. Yeah, you have to be that leader. You have to be the one who is in control. But an effective leader also knows when to step back and reblend and blend back into that collective. It's just a collective. That's the only way. I think sometimes, and this is jumping back to whenever I music direct. When I music direct, it's sometimes important to go back and actually act in a role again and actually go through a rehearsal process where I'm not on the other side of things, because it reminds you what people have to face, It reminds you that people also have opinions and thoughts, but their thoughts are valid because they don't know what's in your mind. They don't know what's in your head. You might have this vision or creative vision or vision for the society you're leading, but they will never understand what it is unless you are, fighting the battle with them. You have to be in the moment with them, and say, "Hey, I'm here. You can bounce everything off of me, and I'm here to lead this group, but also I'm in it with you." So.
Yes, and I feel like that kind of correlates nicely into leaders were in that position at one point, and they can't stray away from that, especially in those moments that you were saying.
Exactly.
Like they can step back and be like, okay, I have to empathize with them. I have to understand what they're doing, and that's probably one of the most challenging things about being a leader is you have the authority and you have the power. But at the same time, you are on the same level as everyone in that room.
Yes, let me tell you, being a leader is scary. It is so scary. I mean, but sometimes the best leaders are the people who don't think of themselves as leaders, or the people who are like, oh, I know me as president, no. But then you put them in those positions because they grow and they develop, but they're also not led by an ego.
Yes.
They're not led by power. That's another big thing. I hope I don't exhibit this in my leadership. You can't lead by power. You can't lead by power struggles. You have to lead by the group mentality, not on an individual basis, which is hard for us peers. When we're in leadership positions here on campus, we have friend groups, we have cliques, because that's an obvious thing that happens within our human nature. But you can't lead by that. You can't lead by, oh, so-and-so said this, and because I'm best friends with them, I have to go with that idea. You have to lead by what is best for the group, and you have to take everybody's views and opinions into account. And that's hard, that's hard, because sometimes, sometimes you're like, sorry, best friend, but I can't be your best friend in this moment. I have, you have to lead by the big vision. So.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you first can realize that and kind of implement that into your everyday life. Kind of another thing that goes off of that, inclusivity throughout, and I know theaters as well as sports is something super big, like to make sure you aren't forming those groups all the time. Like, it's good to have groups.
No, exactly.
People connecting with people that they love or have a passion to be around.
It's natural.
That's
it's just
amazing.
Natural, but.
So, what challenges do you see? Okay, I'm going to rephrase this. There are going to be challenges.
Yes.
How do you find ways to bring in inclusivity and equity into the organizations and different departments that you're a part of?
Yeah, it's all about reaching out to people. It's all about reaching out to people, but also letting them know it's a welcoming society. But also through the aspect of, once they're in the society, making sure that everybody feels as though it's a group mentality, and instead of just the exec team talking about things and then forcing it onto people, that everybody is part of that conversation. Because I know we've had meetings in the past where it feels like, oh, the exec is just going to come in and just give us what's happening. I think it's better to lead with everybody in the room and being able to talk with each other. And you also have to form, some sort of bond with the people in your society. Because once you get them into your society, you have to keep them. You have to keep them engaged and all of that. But the only way you can do that is building those relationships within. It's a hard duty, because we're so on the mindset of doing what we need to do to get whatever goals we want to accomplish, but we also have that secondary objective, which is as important as making sure everybody is friendly with each other and understanding of each other. Do they have to be the best friends? No, but should their cliques influence where they sit once they come to a meeting, or how they interact with the other people? No, that shouldn't be the way. But you have to be the one. You have to be the leader in the sense that you talk to everybody in your group. You talk to everybody in your group. You talk to everybody. You attend everybody's functions. You are friendly with everybody. You have to really be the example for that. And I guess that's another part of being a leader. You have to be the example you wish to set in your group, or else your group themselves can, see holes in your leadership style. And then it just starts to crumble from there. So
it's almost a cruel duality that you have to play, because at the end of the day, you want to be inclusive. You want everybody to, and you embody that. And then you also have to meet your goal at the end, which imposes so many challenges along the way.
Exactly.
But what you were touching on, like leaders leading by that example and showing, well, if I'm expecting this out of you, then I'm also expecting it out of myself.
Exactly. Like, if we have trash pickup, I'm not going to show up. I'm going to be picking up.
I'm going to be the first one there.
Exactly. I'm going to help. I'm going to drive all of you there, and I'm going to pick up the trash with you. And yes, there might be a couple mice. Oh my goodness, and I might be scared of mice or whatever. But no, I will be there with you, screaming my head off about, maybe this is too personal of an experience for me. No. We just had trash pickup last weekend or something, and I saw 2 mice. I was like, oh, but I'm still there. You have to push through your fears too, because your fears might not be other people's fears, but you also have to,
Yeah, and you could always learn from others.
Exactly.
To face your fears together.
As a leader, you are not the end-all be-all. There are other people. It's always other people,
Yes. So kind of shifting gears a little bit. So were you in the Handsome Leadership Program at all?
No. I'm one of those oddities who was not,
Yes.
who's a leader here on campus, but was never part of that program.
I myself am one of those also.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of just going to go over. So we have 4 Handsome Leadership values that we go over. So those are empowerment, advocacy, depth, and courage. Out of those, I kind of want to focus more on the empowerment and courage side, because you've been mentioning that a lot lately, just like in synonym forms. But how would you define those 2 words, like, to yourself?
Empowerment and courage. I mean, well, let me touch on courage first, because I've just been, rambling on. I mean, courage is the ability to see the world through other lenses, basically. I mean, when I think about courage, I think about people who are able to step back from their own self for others. That takes true courage. I mean, the ability, also vulnerability. There are lots of, there's a whole umbrella when it comes to the idea of courage, but you think of the cowardly lion and how he grows to be. But it's really all about being able to be open to other people and to acknowledge that your thoughts and opinions are not always right. And that's scary, that you are not always right, and that you can be wrong, and that you make mistakes too. Everybody makes mistakes, Yeah. This almost became a Hannah Montana quote session. Everybody makes mistakes. No, but really, that is what courage is recognizing that you are human. And that's scary. That is scary. You're not God. You're not a spiritual figure of any sort.
And no one is.
And no one is. And that's the beautiful thing. All of us are just trying to live. But you have to be courageous to recognize that. And I guess that goes with empowerment as well. The idea of empowerment is also a very outwardly term. It's less about yourself. All those terms you mentioned are less about yourself and more about how can you strengthen the mentalities of those people that you lead. Because as a leader, you not just want to make sure the objective is great, you also want to make sure that people continue to want to be led by you.
Yeah.
I founded just this year a new group here on campus called the Dome Musical Theater Ensemble, which is brand new. It's a chance for all of us to sing musical theater songs, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But I made it very clear from the get-go that you do not have to be perfect singers. This is just a way for us to have fun and to experience musical theater, because we're all just learning. In a group mentality, you have to encourage those. But I think encouragement is empowering. Is allowing a person to fail in front of you and saying that's okay, and here's the next steps we can take from that. So
yeah, that is amazing. That is truly amazing. And I know that if I were to ask anybody in the theater department, they would probably say that you embody that very well.
Thank you.
So kind of just looking at your future, I know you said you're graduating in 3 short months.
It's just a few weeks now. It's like 5-6 weeks or something like that. And I do have a future, thank goodness.
Yeah,
I do have stuff like that.
That's amazing.
So I'm heading back to Omaha. I'm sort of a nester, but I love the arts community there. So I've already had interviews with the 402 Arts Collective about maybe joining them. And they're very much like Doane, where it is that comfortable artistic place to explore, and it's very human. But also I'm sort of starting to music direct again in the community.
That's amazing.
That's my main profession, basically. So my big thing is next June I am music directing in the Heights at Omaha Community Playhouse, which is a huge opportunity. I'm 21 years old, and they're like, let's give this kid
fresh out of college.
Let's give the kid the keys to the Buick. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to drive a Honda. I don't know. That's a weird analogy or whatever. But it's a great place, the Omaha Community Playhouse, and I'm really excited. And hopefully that's going to springboard me into other opportunities. In March, I'm music directing a high school production of All Shook Up. So I get to work with high schoolers. I'm a teaching artist at the Omaha Community Playhouse, so I work with young kids a lot, which is one of my favorite parts of life in general. I mean, just see, because I often have the same kids come back year after year, and you can just see their passions grow. And yes, some of them might not go into theater, but the way that their minds are taking what they learn in those classes and just seeing them become little humans. So
yeah,
you know, it's so. I guess my future is going to be basically summed up by being a teaching artist and trying to teach the next group of people who are going to be taking my place, even though I'm still young and I still have a place to go, you know, and also music directing, and which is another scary thing, having to lead people who are older than you sometimes, you know. But it's all about saying, you know, here's who I am and here's what I can give you, and sometimes I don't know, so.
Yeah, and that's, I know that looking kind of just in the future a little bit, which is even scarier, is to look beyond.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, those kids that you're teaching are going to come back, like you said, and they're going to be able to come back and tell you that you impacted my life, and you showed me what it was like to be a leader, be a successful person in the theater department in all these areas, which is fantastic.
Oh no, it's so heartwarming in a sort of way, and I don't mean to be braggy about it. I mean, I've had those moments already, and it's just it reminds you of, you know, where compassion can get you, and how being an outward person instead of an inward person, you know, and you get to see them grow, and it's just so inspiring, and to see them. It's amazing. I mean, I might tear up talking about it. But it's the same thing that I think about education. And I know Stephen Sondheim, who's a musical theater composer, talks about this. He wrote like Into the Woods, Sweeney Todd. But teaching is a sacred art form. And I see leadership as a form of teaching, you know. There is nothing more beautiful in the world than education and teaching, because we're always learning. And it's always instructors and professors and mentors who ultimately get to us, you know, and guide us through life, because we always have mentors in our lives, and that's another form of leadership, and it's just beautiful.
So yeah, I have one last question for you. This might give you a little bit of insight here, but if you could give yourself, your version of yourself from 15 years ago, one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Stop being so scared. Stop being so scared. I mean, I'm an overthinker by nature. My boyfriend knows this. He hates it sometimes. But I'm an overthinker by nature. And I remember just starting out and just thinking that everything in life was going to, you know, come crushing down on me in some moment, because I was just going to fail, and I didn't want to try anything out. And oh my goodness, you want me to take lessons? I can't take lessons, because then you're going to make fun of me. I can't do this. And just to tell myself 15 years ago, it's okay. You can learn. You don't have to be that weird kid on the recess playing by himself. You can go talk to people, Boston. You can go talk to people, Boston. And you know, it's about having courage, and you have to learn it. You know, you have to learn it. You have to fall a lot. But it just means you have to get back, you know, firmer and bigger and all that sort of stuff. So, you know.
So yeah, I thought it was amazing getting to interview you today. I truly did enjoy this, and I do see so many values in you that just in this short time I can see you embody those just in this conversation.
No, thank you so much.
So yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. I know that, are you going to be in the play coming up soon, or the?
I will be in it, but I will be. I'm master electrician for it, so I'm gonna.
You're gonna be a part of it. So
yeah, so I'm gonna make sure that I basically make sure that all the lights are up and everybody can see the actors in some sort of way. I don't design the lights, but I hang up the light plot that
you make sure you can see them.
Exactly. I make sure the lights are focused and all that sort of stuff.
So yeah, good luck to that though, and good luck to graduating.
Thank you.
That is a big thing.
Oh, it is huge.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.